Hello, I'm Rachel from Dwensa Garden in Ireland, and you're very welcome to this video all about repotting Coelogyne, which is this fantastic orchid you see here in front of me. Now, this video is aimed chiefly at people who don't normally grow orchids. And I must tell you that the most spectacular flowering I've ever seen on a Coelogyne was made by a friend of mine who doesn't normally grow orchids at all. Brian, you know who you are. This is a plant that many grow, and perhaps they're a bit nervous about things like repotting because, well, it's an orchid and they have a whole load of mystique attached to them. Well, we're going to demystify that today and repot this rather large plant. Now, before we get stuck into the repot of this rather large specimen, just a few words about Coelogyne, and the first has to do with the pronunciation. You've seen the name written up above, perhaps you haven't known how to pronounce it. Well, I'm here to tell you it's pronounced Coelogyne, despite what the letters may indicate. Now, this is an epiphytic orchid that has a vast range of habitats. It grows chiefly in the Himalayas, I believe, and it's an epiphyte, so that means it clings to trees. However, if we grow it in our home environment, we don't have trees there, and if we wanted to grow it without a pot, then we would end up having to water it 2 to 3 times a day. Yes, a day, because this is a plant that grows in the monsoon climate and anticipates that kind of watering. So the best thing to do is to grow it in a pot, and that's what I'm doing here. Even if you don't grow orchids, or even if you just grow a couple of moth orchids on your windowsill, you will be able to grow a Coelogyne cristata, provided you have a cold room. And that's the trick to getting this plant to flower. Anybody can grow it and have it so that it's lush and green, but to get it to flower, it needs cooler temperatures in the winter, which will trigger it into blooming in spring. So you need anything between 5 degrees to 10 degrees centigrade. A cool room or a cool conservatory with lots of bright light is exactly what you need. So I imagine if you're watching this video, you already have one of these plants. Perhaps it has grown as big as mine. Perhaps you're wondering, my goodness, what will I do with it now? And the answer is quite simply repot. You've probably read online that this is a plant that doesn't like root disturbance, and that is so true. If you get this wrong, then it may resent you and end up not flowering for 2 to 3 years. But in this particular case, you can see how the plant has grown out over the edge of the pot, so it really does need a repot. And the time to do that is in spring, after the plant has finished flowering. And if it doesn't flower, the main thing is that it should have lots of active growths, and that means lots of active roots. Here's the pot down the bottom, and you can see the growth habit of this plant. It has crawled along and come out over the edges. So these growths at the very front, they've nothing to cling on to, nothing to go into. Now, we mentioned it doesn't like root disturbance, so the easiest thing to do is to just take this, find a larger pot and just place it in here and fill in the space between the edge of the existing pot and the new pot with medium, with mix, and it will just continue on out. However, I'm not going to do that today because I don't like to waste all that space, and the pot that is at the bottom of this plant is taking up a lot of space and will mean that I have to pot this into an even larger pot earlier if I go with the submerging the existing pot method today. So the first thing we need to do to get this show on the road is to get this plant out of its existing pot. And I'm going to hold it at the top, being careful not to hold the new growths, because I could easily break them off, and just give it a little tug. I'm just working around the edge of the pot, the lip of the pot, making sure that any roots that are sliding underneath it are moved to on top of it, and hopefully that will stop it holding on to the pot so much. But it's very difficult to get purchase because of the shape of this pot, and I think what I'll do is try and stand it on its side, being careful, of course, because this plant is cascading down the side of the pot. Hold a number of pseudobulbs here, making sure not to hold on to a new growth, and give it a little tug. Oh yes. Okay, now here it is. And well, I wanted to say out comes the pot, but nothing is ever that easy, is it? It's still hanging on here at this side. Okay, woo. We have a nice slug in there, and this of course is a plant that lives in my greenhouse, in my glass house, planting dead insects. Oh dear. It's a nest of roots, and I do want to disturb them as little as possible. We can see that there are some active new ones, some with white tips, which is very good. We can also see various potting media in there. So we've got some packing peanuts in there and some mix, and the temptation of course is to excavate and pull those things out, but you know what, I think I'm going to just leave well enough alone. So here's my enormous pot, and look at that. Have you ever seen such an enormous pot? These are plants that need a shallow bowl because they don't need a lot of depth underneath the roots. And this is the best I could do for it. But to compensate for the fact that perhaps this bowl is deeper than it should be, what I'm going to do is put porous, large mix at the base. Now I could use the packing peanuts that I used before, but instead I'm going to use clay pebbles. And these are readily available in a lot of garden centres. Next, we need a mix for this orchid, and I appreciate this can be quite difficult if you don't regularly grow orchids. Some of the mixes that you'll buy in garden centres just aren't suitable. So if you buy something and when you put your fingers in you see that there's a lot of what is really soil or peat in there, then that really isn't suitable for epiphytic orchids. Keep it for your cymbidiums, or you know, the semi-terrestrial ones that appreciate a bit of soil. So try to get orchid bark. But if you really can't get your hands on proper orchid bark, then I suggest taking yourself along to a pet shop and look in the section where they have stuff for reptiles, because the bark that they sell for putting at the base of reptile cages is perfect for orchids. It also is not contaminated by anything that these sensitive plants might object to, because in fact, reptiles are very sensitive too. Orchid bark, if used as a substrate for your coelogyne, is best mixed with 10% perlite, easily available in any garden centre, 10% chopped sphagnum moss if you can source it, and 10% charcoal. But don't worry too much if you can't get these ingredients. Today I'm using a purpose orchid mix that already has the perlite and stuff in there. And I'm placing a bed of it on top of these clay pebbles. Now, as you can see, I'm pretty much just laying the plant on top of the bed of mix rather than, you know, firming the mix around the sides. And that's okay, we want to disturb those roots as little as possible, as I believe we've mentioned already. Ta-da! So now the only thing left to do is to water this plant, and I'm going to bring this into the house. It has been in my glass house up until now, but it's been really hot here in Ireland. So I'm going to bring it into the house just to make sure it doesn't dehydrate too quickly. Now don't do anything like withhold water after repotting. Water it as normal once a week and just make sure that it doesn't dry out too much as it's recovering from the repotting. So I'm just going to give it lots and lots of water. And hopefully you can see how it's and hear how it's spilling out the bottom there, splashing on my legs, making a big mess. And that's kind of the end of this video on repotting Coelogyne, which I do encourage you to grow even if you don't grow orchids already. And while we're in the neighbourhood of orchids, I just want to tell you how my Subralia has been doing. It's a plant I repotted about this time last year, one that is quite unusual here in Ireland, the Subralia orchid, and you may recall that. Oh wow, that repotting video, because it was such a brute to repot. Anyway, in the end I ended up with one large piece which I planted in the greenhouse border. And it has done so well. It has flowered really well this year, considering it was just repotted last autumn. The other two pieces, one of them went into a pot that came into the house for the winter, and that also flowered this year. And then the third piece went into a pot that stayed in the greenhouse over winter. The greenhouse gets down to 5 degrees centigrade minimum in winter, 41 Fahrenheit. So I guess the experiment was to see if this plant would do well at those low temperatures, because I'd always kept it in the house up until then. And yeah, it does, once it's in the ground at least. And so on that note, I leave you. Thank you for joining me for the Coelogyne repotting. And if you're wondering about the brown tips on the leaves here, this video hasn't really talked about culture, but you can get those from the need to flush your orchid if you have been allowing a build-up of salts in the pot. But in my case, I think it's from underwatering. You can also get brown tips from underwatering. So I'll need to take extra good care of these plants as they recover, and hopefully I will have an amazing flowering next year. There are two of them this size, so look out for an update on how they do next spring. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.